Hey, what's up guys? So this last Sunday I did the Beast 30 kilometer. It was my very first 30 kilometer trail race that I've ever done, which was pretty cool. I didn't enter it myself. It was here in Cape Town. A mate of mine entered, but she unfortunately couldn't run, so she sold me her ticket, which I thought it was a cool idea to actually be a part of and do it and see kind of what my training has amounted to so far. I've been going up Platyclip quite often over the weekends, and I filmed that in my first vlog, so check that out. I just wanted to kind of see with that where I was and where I kind of have to be in a few months' time for the race in November. This will be my top 10 race tips. This is stuff that I've picked up from trainers, from training people, and just over the years of being a part of some of these races. Quick disclaimer, I do these races just for the fun and the enjoyment of it, for the adventure, and also just to see how far I can push myself. So these tips you can kind of mix and match, and you can kind of see what works for you guys depending on what kind of races and what kind of activities you are doing. And it applies to everyone, even if you've never done anything or you're planning to do a park run or something like that. You guys can adapt some of the stuff that I've learned. Okay, so starting off, looking in this bag which I've hung up here, is basically number one, and that's hydrate the week going into the race. So even though it is winter over here and it's in Cape Town and it's coldish, I drink a hell of a lot less water in winter obviously than I do in summer. I have this bottle, it's 2 liters, and I make sure that I drink that bottle every day leading up to the race for about a week or two. I should obviously be doing that every day, especially in winter. As I said, it's a bit harder. If you're drinking that, you should be fine. You'll be well hydrated going into the race, and at least then your performance won't be negatively affected by going into a race and being dehydrated. Okay, tip number 2, and that's kind of what I'm repacking now, is pack for the race the night before. A lot of guys use lists, so in the morning when you wake up, maybe you haven't had your coffee if you drink coffee, or it's early in the morning. Some of these races start pretty early, so you've got to get up 3 hours before and get some food in and stuff. So make a list and go through a list. It's far easier to not have to think too much about it, to pack all your clothes out the night before, and also pack all your kit. Now I've got all this compulsory gear and stuff, bit of cash in there. I've got this dry bag that I use. I'll review any of this stuff, and if there's anything else that you want to know or other stuff that you want to see, be sure to let me know in the comments. But I take a few gels and stuff like that, extra calories for the race, and all of obviously the compulsory gear as well, which I'll go through in a separate video. Third tip is taper, but don't stop completely. Obviously during the weeks leading up to the race, you're going to slow down a little bit, you're going to taper off, and you're not going to do the exact same mileage that you're doing the weeks before. Basically the week leading into the race, what I do is I plan 2 rest days, obviously lower the intensity and lower the duration of my workouts. And then my second rest day, if my race is on a Saturday, I have that rest day on a Thursday. So that Friday I can get out there and I can move my legs around, maybe go for a 2K run or something like that. Not something too hectic, but just to move your legs so that when you wake up the next morning, you're ready for the race. Tip number 4 is more food and water than you think you need. Basically, I filled up these bottles to do the race on Sunday, and the requirement was 2 of these, which is a liter. Obviously guys had hydration packs as well, you guys can just pick whatever works for you. But I decided to start off with 1.5 liters. And I actually missed one of the tables up at the top of Table Mountain and ended up coming down Platyclip, and the other one was another, say 5 or 6 Ks further than I thought. So luckily I had that water in my pack, and I had some extra food and stuff to tie me over. In the longer races this is really important because you're going to get stuck out there otherwise and run out of water halfway, so you don't want to do that. So make sure you calculate kind of roughly how much water and how much food you need nutrition-wise throughout the race, and always have stuff in reserve. I know quite a lot of these trail races and stuff like that with requirements say they put maybe 200 or 300 calories extra in the compulsory gear list. So it's a good idea to do that yourself, even when you're training and even if you're doing maybe shorter races and stuff like that. Tip number 5 is nothing new on race day. So basically your training is not only for your cardiovascular fitness and your strength and endurance or whatever you're gearing up for, whatever race you're doing, but it's also a good opportunity to use your gear and test your stuff. I mean, this bag the Salomon pack that I reviewed a few weeks ago. That was a new pack, and I wasn't going to just go straight into a race and put that new pack on until I tested it out and I'd seen kind of what worked and what didn't. Luckily with that pack, those toggles broke, as I made the video about, so at least I figured that out in training, fixed it, and then when I used it for the race over this weekend, it worked perfectly. Okay, tip number 6 is don't ignore recovery. I make sure I have a decent meal when I get home of carbs, proteins and fats. Also make sure I drink enough water, and not only water, but you're obviously sweating and you're losing your good salts and your electrolytes and stuff like that, so make sure you take in some sort of electrolyte drink. That's the one, Rehydrate Sport. There are a lot of different kinds of them. It's just electrolytes and a bit of salt. There are also salt tablets and stuff to take during the race to prevent cramping and stuff. So yeah, pay attention to recovery. A lot of guys do the race and then they do months of training and stuff like that, and afterwards they just spend a few weeks and doing absolutely nothing. I think your body evolves and your muscles grow and evolve and adapt to whatever you're doing, and it's good to look after them after your race as well. Number 7 is prepare for any conditions. Now, I can go over the compulsory gear for races in another video if you guys want, but things like a waterproof jacket with taped seams was one of them, and even though it was a hot day out, you need to prepare for any conditions. So quite a few times I've gone up Table Mountain, like in my first vlog, and I start at the bottom 700 meters below the top. By the time I get to the top, I need to put on a jacket, a buff or a beanie. I needed to put on gloves in the one video. Weather varies a hell of a lot, and also when you warm up from the start to when you warm up, it's going to be completely different. So layers are really cool because you can obviously layer them on and you can have different layers. Buffs also really cool. There are multiple uses for those. So take those along and make sure you just adhere to the compulsory gear, and also take it for training, you might as well. And if you get stuck out there or something like that, then at least you've got it on you. So number 8, and that's something my wife and my folks tell me quite often that I don't always listen to, and that is ease into the race. So I get quite amped up and I get quite energetic and I get quite stoked for the beginning of the race. So everyone's there chatting and everyone's having a good time, and you're on the start line and the gun goes off. And I've even gone off at 5 minutes a K in a running race instead of my planned 6 minutes a K, just because I've been so amped to do it. And halfway I've had to sort of try and maintain a pace that I naturally couldn't maintain and just hang on to try and finish. Whereas if I'd started a little bit slower, then I could have kind of ramped up as it went along, and I would have felt much better at the end of the race. So just pay attention to how you are at the beginning, don't get wrapped up in everything, and just ease off the start line and slowly see how your body feels and get into the race that way. Okay, number 9, and it's something I tell my mates all the time, is enter something as a goal. So quite often, I've even done it myself, I've started running and a few weeks later I'm not even running anymore, and I kind of didn't even notice, which is quite weird. It just kind of falls off and you get out of it and you start doing something different. If you actually want to stick to something and progress though, it's good to enter a race as a goal. So obviously goals in life when it comes to business or fitness or anything are very important. But if you're trying to stick to running, then enter a 15K or a 21K, or plan to do a park run or something like that, and stick to it. It'll keep you in your training and it'll keep you motivated to keep with it. Okay, number 10 and the last one is listen to your body as well as your watch. So the technological advancements of watches and stuff, wearable tech and stuff for fitness is amazing, and I'm all for it. I use my watch often to track just about anything, except for swimming. It's a bit weird with swimming, but learn to listen to your body as well. A lot of guys get started, they get a watch straight away, and they kind of every 5 seconds are looking down at their watch, adjusting their pace. I'm a big believer of listening to your body, and you've also got to kind of evaluate yourself and see how you feel. A scale of perceived exertion from 1 to 10 is brilliant, so you can kind of say 10 is the hardest thing you've ever done in your life, and number 1 is the easiest. See how you feel and how you rank on that scale throughout the race or throughout training, just so you know when you get into something new or uncharted waters, you haven't kind of been there, you haven't done that sort of race before, you can evaluate yourself where maybe your watch won't be as good as it. As I said before in the beginning, if there's anything you guys need to know, any of this kit or bags or anything that you guys want to see, then let me know in the comments and I'll be sure to do an extra video on it. And also any tips, anything that's worked for you guys, what races you're doing in the future, what you're looking forward to doing exercise and fitness wise. I've been a part of fitness and exercise and stuff since I was a a tiny kid, so it's really an interesting topic for me. I like talking to people about it, and yeah, that's why I'm basically making these videos. Hope you have a good weekend and good luck for all the races and all the training you guys are doing, and I'll catch you next week.